Hey there, it's Lukazi. Thanks for joining me again. Today I have a game between myself, randomed as the red Terran in the top right hand corner here on Metropolis, versus Vertigo, a Protoss player who's about, I think, 1900 or so in the Diamond League here on Metropolis. He is the blue Protoss, and he's our early scouting, it looks like. And in this replay, the reason why I'm casting it is because I used a strategy that someone had used against me, which of course is always the best way to learn a new strategy. When you're like, damn it, how do I beat that? Yeah, so I went ahead and used it against another person just for lulz, and it's pretty solid actually. It works really well versus Terran or versus Protoss as a Terran, especially on maps where you have a close rush distance. Like here, I've spawned in a close position. This is a good map for as an example for it. So I'm doing everything standard, throwing down my supply depot. It's getting its supply depot building on. Looks like he threw it down his pylon a little bit late and capped himself for a second there. But he's boosting out probes. I'm dancing around with my SCV about to build my barracks. Meanwhile, continuing to build SCVs. He's scouted 2 of the positions, so he knows he's about to find me at the last one, which is always such a frustrating experience. You're like, oh, come on, nah, last position, really? Looks like he's saving his chrono a little bit, or is just not boosting right now. Not sure which one. My barracks is almost done. I have a reactor going up. A refinery, my apologies. A refinery going up there at 13. He's beating up my SCV, but I sent an SCV over to chase it off. Standard probe harassment. Looks like I'm starting up a supply depot to block him in there, and then getting my orbital started up, as well as building a marine to try and take out this probe so I can go ahead and move into the build order I want without him knowing what's going on. And scouting is done for him. So now I can go ahead and progress into the build order I want because he can't see inside my base, and that's generally why I throw up the supply depot right there, finish off the worker, and don't let any scouting in after that. It's going to be a little bit till he gets his observer, especially if he goes for any type of 3-gate or any type of Stargate play. So I throw down my factory here at, it looks like, 16 as I'm building my 17th. He is starting up a stalker, and he's going for a second gas there that I scout. Meanwhile, I have 3 Marines back at the base, and I have 4 workers, looks like, running off the gases. And I'm making my way back to the base after getting chased off, but scouting a good amount. Come back inside the base, little SCV. And my 4 Marines will be able to keep him back since the Stalker's the only one that can shoot. The Zeal isn't going to be able to do any damage. Now I do need to get a Marauder here because it's the only thing that can outrange a Stalker. I've started up my armory up there in the back. Hopefully not going to get scouted for a little bit as I transition to building a Thor here. I lift land my barracks and start up a tech lab. Move up my Marines there to make sure that that Stalker is scared off. I'm going to go ahead and repair that for future use. Meanwhile, back at his base, it looks like he's going for a 3-gate build, which is very standard. 3-gate Robo or 3-gate Stargate is very standard versus Terran. It takes a little while to get rolling, and this build that I'm doing is hopefully going to take advantage of that. I'm going to finish up this supply depot right after my armory finishes, and I'm going to be able to start up a Thor right after that. Starting up that Thor. Have a Marauder coming out. I think I supply block myself here and just, well, maybe not. Maybe I don't supply block myself yet. Looks like he's sending a probe over to see what's going on. Maybe gearing up for an attack. He has a 4th gateway going down, so he's 4-gating. Now it looks like he's getting at least 2 sentries. I'm not sure for double force field or for guardian shield, since he saw I had a lot of marines. Either way, a good call. But his force isn't going to be able to break in versus the Thor, which are just so strong. Dealing 60 damage in attack. 2nd Thor coming out. And I've dropped down a 2nd barracks, and I'm researching stim right now. The real idea of this build is to easily defend yourself from 3/4 gate pushes, and then transition into getting your expo and controlling the map, or going for an early push with that Thor and really taking it down. So he's force fielding. He's going to take out this supply depot, it looks like, but nothing else. Those Zeals just getting eaten up. Force a retreat out of him. My Thor taking no damage. Pretty minimal loss of forces for me. His resupply is getting up here since he had that pylon. I'm going to go ahead and retreat with my Thor, meanwhile bringing some SCVs over to repair it. Repairing away here. Got him trapped on the ramp, which makes it easy for my Thor to tank. Really rip through the rest of the mobs. They pick off that last Zeal there. Now, I'm not really macroing very well. I should have already started a command center at this point. But as you can see, this is very powerful. It's very hard to take down Thors as Protoss because you can't slipstream like you can with Zerglings. And slipstream is when you run by the Thor and surround the SCVs by kind of clicking right past them and then holding position, and the Zerglings will actually attack the SCVs and kill them because that's the only thing that they have in range, which is really, really good, and that's called slipstreaming. And you can do that with Protoss, but it's harder because you don't have as many Zeals as obviously you would have Zerglings, so it's really difficult to pull that off because you're going to have 4 Zerglings for every Zeal, so it's a lot easier to surround and kind of pull off that strategy versus Thors. Now, you may be thinking, man, he's wasting a lot of his economy keeping those SCVs chilling there. Yeah, I am, I know. But at the same time, it keeps them protected in case he pushes up, and I don't really have anything to scout with at the moment. Looks like he's dropped a Robo and is now pumping out Immortals to try and counter these Thors, and eventually I'm going to get Strike Cannons, which are very good versus Immortals, and kind of take out that counter. So here I'm pulling those SCVs back so I can set all of these to one group. And then I have the SCVs just follow the Thor, so that way I can attack and focus fire with the other units and not have the SCVs run in kind of stupidly. Now the SCVs rush around the Thor and start repairing it. And again, look how powerful it is. The Thor just manages to stay alive, and I take out an Immortal that's a little bit too slow running away there. And now time for me to kind of push up and deal some damage of my own. Now this isn't meant to finish the game or anything, it's just to try and throw some damage down. Now Thor's of course massive, so they can walk right over that. Now he's going to send in all these all these probes and start attacking me. And I'm going to pick off quite a few. Meanwhile, he's focus firing down my Thors. And I'm back at my base. I'm not even watching this battle while I'm playing. I could have easily watched it and microed the Thors a little bit better. Looks like they took out a lot of probes. But at the same time, if I totally cripple his economy, It's not like he's going to be able to move into my base with the forces that he has right now, and I'm going to be ahead economically because I just finished this command center and I'm now expanding. So really, it was a pretty good trade-off. I mean, I did lose those units, but at the same time, I took out almost all of his probes. He's down to 15 right now, which really makes up for the economic disadvantage I've been running with, having to repair these Thors as well as, just in general moving around. Now I'm going to set all these SCVs to a control group, and then I'm going to throw them on the minerals here. In the meantime, just keep pumping out Marines, Thors, and Marauders. Now I do have stim on these, so that and concussive, so that really helps with the pushes and absorbing some of the damage, and really dealing out the damage as the Thors are being focused. Got another push coming up here. A lot of sentries, 4 sentries. I guess he's going to try and push the SCVs off the Thors, which isn't the worst idea, but you can micro the Thors so that way they kind of waddle and walk over that. And here I rush in with all my SCVs to start repairing. He's not very happy about this build. Meanwhile, I'm back to macroing up a little bit. Just continuing to hard macro here. I've thrown down a 3rd barracks and continue to pump out Thors. Meanwhile, he's still running off 1 base. He keeps massing his army. At this point, he probably should have moved into expanding. Looks like he's a very aggressive 1 base player. Expects to win with that. But he probably could have expanded here, and it would be kind of hard for me to push him just based on the slow speed of the Thors. Though if I had scouted, I probably would have tried to push anyway. And there's this impression amongst a lot of players that if you random, you're apparently a noob, which kind of hurts my feelings, because I'm not really a noob. Just because a strat is winning doesn't mean you're a noob. So he's about to push here. Quite a few units here. He throws up his guardian shields and he moves in. I stim up and start wailing away with my Thors. The Thor's making quick work. They just do so much DPS. They just rip through all that. I didn't lose a single Thor that time. I'm going to go ahead and counter push. I believe he leaves the game as I'm counter pushing. Yep. So this strategy was really all about a timing push. Either timing pushing with your own forces or countering his timing push and then counter pushing. So this is the Thor and Stim Marine Marauder tactic that you can use versus Protoss players to pretty good success. It also works for Zerg if you're going for a Marine Marauder push and then throw in a Thor or 2 for either drops or for, just that extra heavy hitting damage versus, roaches or anything like that.